Hello and welcome back to the Supercharged podcast, featuring Lane Hubenak, the Minecraft gamer, and also the sexiest Minecraft gamer there is. Also welcoming back our co-host JR, Jahn the Man, and Chris Rendina for the first time is joining us. The Kylo Rendina, Dr. Chris Respect Prime.
There's a lot of names to go on about. I mean, we got ASMR. Yep. We can go on and on.
The
And don't
Tony
worry.
Grunk.
Yeah, we got plenty of names. And if you guys ever want to check it out, twitch.tv, Dr. Chris Respect Prime. Didn't mention this, but hey, you guys can check it out. And back to you, Noah.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to talk about today, but I wanted to start out with a question, an important question, a vital question even. What is y'all's favorite minigame in gaming? And we're going to start with Lane.
So my favorite minigame is probably got to be Gwent from the Witcher 3 series. Probably the best minigame I've played by far. There's so much you got to do. You got to go around the world looking for different cards. There's different ways you can get them through different quests. And then the minigame itself is amazing. The point system, the different factions, different abilities, different leadership abilities for each faction. It's just, overall, it's such a good minigame that it eventually became its own game. So I feel like that's enough evidence to say my reasoning for it.
What's your favorite Gwent card?
My favorite Gwent card. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite Gwent card.
How about
it maybe the decoy, because it can be used with the way when I play Gwent, the way I normally play is I use the North Realms faction because they have all their siege units. So normally what I'll do is I'll take a siege unit that there's like a medic siege unit where you can deploy a card from your previously discarded deck, and then you can use a decoy to pick up that card and then replace it and then place another card that was in your discard deck. So it's pretty cool. That's probably my favorite is the decoy.
I love Northern Realms because of the spies. I love using the spies just like ad nauseum and doing the same thing. And then when they use their spies and putting a decoy and then putting their spy on theirs again, that shit's good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What about you, JR?
My favorite Gwent card or my favorite minigame? I've never played Gwent.
Minigame.
Well, then let's go
my favorite minigame. I love fishing minigames, and there's a running gag where I say all good games have fishing, but not all games that have fishing are good. But games that do fishing minigames really well, Stardew Valley, they're a fishing minigame. It's simple, it's easy to understand. Also, you probably got a reward when you do well. You can get the treasure chests, you can level up your fishing skill. It's well thought out, and it's a mini game, but it's also part of the game in that you can just fish, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Other fishing mini games that are mid-tier, but also really good in really good games. Twilight Princess fishing, that was always fun, especially Wiimote version where you lift up. That was always great. And I had one in my head. Hades fishing minigame. It's so simple and it's just an audio cue, but you have to find the fish every time. You cannot resist finding that little glowy spot, clicking on it, and waiting until you hear that poop. Pulling your rod. Anyway, fishing minigames. That's where it's at.
And don't forget about Red Dead Redemption 2's fishing.
That's a good one.
I mean, you might lose your thumb trying to get that fish reeled in sometimes because holy crap, the amount of input you got to put there. But I mean, I can tell you right now, fishing minigames are where it's at. Fishing games like Fishing Planet, never play it. Like you can't even get the reel that far out in that game. It's honestly like I don't even know how it's a game, to be honest with you. But hey, there's some people who like the game and I'm not against it. I play some hunting games from time to time, like Hunter Call the Wild and stuff, so that's some fun little things to do. But at least for my favorite mini game, it's got to be the Destiny 2 tire game, guys. Like unless if you're getting interrupted by another guardian on the moon trying to block your tire, it's like it's just something that, get you away from all the gunfire, Vex, Hive.
I don't think I played the tire game. What is it? Is it like soccer? It's like two
Uh,
goals and you defend it, or what?
No. So basically, on the
It's
moon, whenever you spawn into the actual area, you'll look to the right of the actual sanctuary, they call it.
Mhm.
So in front of you is Erismore, and to the right of it, there's a little ramp, and then there's a little thing that you could spend like 10 glimmer on to basically just get the tire to dispense out. And out and about, you'll see these craters in front of the ramp, and the tire will just roll down there, and you try to hit it in the very middle. And there's always that one guardian that just feels like blocking your shot. Like, I didn't know this was a game of soccer where someone's got to play goalie and then just jump out and knock the freaking tire out of the way. But hey, it's got to be the way it is. But hey, there's a tire triumph if you guys are ever going for it in Destiny 2, where you get all 3 of the tires into the middle. So
I'll have to check that out. I didn't know that.
it's
Yeah.
Do
painful.
they have a title for that?
I've gotten it. It wasn't worth it. The amount of tries, the amount of glimmer. I think I went through a solid 1,000 glimmer because I had was it Ring Logan blocking most of the shots,
Well,
and
that's
then he
because
just
you're
walked
playing with
away.
Logan, so
Next
that's
time we're in Fire Team together, I want to see Michelin Man ASMR Matt. I want to see that.
yeah.
Hey, whenever they
You'll do.
allow for name changing in Destiny 2, I'll definitely
true.
keep it in mind.
Yeah. Well,
nice.
my favorite minigame, I think, has to be, it's a recent one that I just started playing, but Yakuza Like a Dragon has like nothing but banger minigames, so it's hard to pick, but I don't know, I fell in love with the cart can collecting. You're just driving around to a little cart and you're trying to collect as many cans as you can. It's like Pac-Man in that there are like little soju cans that give you a boost, and you can use that to take other people's cans, and they can attack you at any point too. So it's like you have to balance that out. And then there's also a truck that just goes on a set path, and if that truck hits you in any way, you lose 50 cans. But I always, like, at this point, I'm always collecting 900 plus cans every run, like S tier runs, and it
So
grades you.
are you just collecting cans from like regular people, or are you like collecting it from like homeless people on the street? Like, are you
So
fighting homeless people for cans? Like,
yeah, because you start off homeless in Yakuza Like a Dragon. After a while, you become homeless for reasons unknown that I won't spoil. And your goal is just to like kind of make money by collecting cans. And the cans are just littering the street everywhere. And then there's like piles of cans that are worth like 5, but everything else is worth 1. And then at some point there's a crazy lady, and it says like "Lucky" on the screen in green letters, and she's like running really fast, and she has a bag on her back, and cans just fall out, and they're all like 3 piles of 3 cans. So you really want to chase the lucky one, but also you have to make sure you don't hit another guy who's chasing you, because those guys want their cans too, and they'll hit you and you lose 20. And it's really, really well balanced. It's really good, and I played like a shit ton of that game, so where like I could feel my fingers just like getting carpal tunnel, the amount of times I was just holding down right trigger to go forward. It's a great game though, and Yakuza Like a Dragon is worth it just if you want to collect cans. Like, it's the best can collecting simulator there is.
yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, speaking of collecting cans and getting the bag, Bungie has secured the bag from Sony. Sony acquired Bungie for $3.6 billion, a huge amount for Bungie especially. And, you know, it might not be huge compared to like the $70 billion acquisition that we heard about from Activision, or from Xbox acquiring Activision, but it is huge in terms of Bungie and their revenue, and, you know, sort of what the market values them at. But yeah, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about it from a lot of different angles, but Lane, you wanted to talk about one thing in specifically. So what is that?
Yeah, so the thing I really wanted to talk about was just how much they were taking from that deal and actually contributing it towards the workers at Bungie that are there already. So about a third of it, 1.2 billion, is being dedicated just to the employment there. And what's interesting about it is they only have like 900 people working at Bungie at the moment, so that's still over $1 million per developer. I mean, that's just rough numbers. Obviously, some people are going to get paid more than others,
Yeah.
and some people paid a lot less. But just to think about that in terms of almost 1,000 people instantly becoming millionaires, that in a rough sense is crazy. because they know that the staff there is amazing. They've been doing good work, and they want to keep them. They want to keep them on. But what I think is interesting is the staff is kind of worried about that payout because they don't have a time set for it yet. They don't know anything about contracts. People have asked Sony, and Sony hasn't really said like deadlines. They haven't set deadlines on how long they're wanting to keep those people. All we know so far is that 50% of their equity is being paid forefront to them, and then the other 50% is going to be a payout over the years. How many years we don't know yet. And to me, that's just I don't know. That's a crazy amount of money considering that they only paid 229 million for Insomniac games, which made Spider-Man in 2019, and that game popped off, especially for them. I feel like, and I don't know. That's really what I wanted to talk about as far as how much money is going towards it. As to what the other 2.4 is going to, I don't know. I don't have any ideas really.
Right. So
I think it's interesting to think. So, what is the exact timeline for? Because we have a plan all the way up till final shape, right? So, like, what is the timeline for Destiny 2's life cycle like that? Because I'm assuming that they're saying, "Oh, we want you all to stay here at least until that," and then probably like 2 or 3 years after that to work on whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So when is the final shapes
so
like date supposed to be?
Lightfall is next February, and then final shape is the February after that, so 2024 final shape.
Okay.
And then presumably Destiny 3 2025. But that's
that could be a part of what Sony's plan is though, because in the same article that I got all that information from, they were also talking about how Sony by the end of 2024 or 2025, so in the next 4 years, they want to have 10 live service games. So I would count Bungie 2 as a live service game, and I think if they're gonna either continue it after the next 2 expansions, or if they make Destiny 3, like that would be one of the titles.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot though going forward. I think that's too much. I think they need to just focus on a few games.
I think Sony definitely has the bandwidth at this point to work on 10 live service games while maintaining like the quality of the single player experiences. Like, so Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, and like the big like first party single player focused game studios have really been expanding into that area. They've been like beefing up their teams in terms of like multiplayer game devs, and that's like a big push for them. Like you look at Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and that's like one of the best multiplayer experiences, like PvE experiences that's come out in the past few years, and it's from a single player focused studio that really hasn't delved into something like multiplayer like that. And I think this Bungie acquisition is a lot. I talked about this with like the Gaming Trend people, and this is something I've been thinking about. Like Bungie is a huge acquisition for them, not just because of the IP that they offer and the people that they have, but like the brain share that they have in terms of like, okay, we can come in and be like, this is how you make a live service game. This is like what I would tweak. This is what we messed up on in the past. And if you really want to make this work, like we have the expertise to give y'all. And since we're under the Sony umbrella, we can like more freely give that to you. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, in terms of like the 10 live service games, right? So we have Destiny 3, possibly 2025, right? And then we have Project Matter, which is one of the things that Bungie is confirmed to be working on. And that's helmed by Christopher Barrett. He's like, he's directed at least different years of Destiny 1, and I'm pretty sure he was huge on Halo. He was like instrumental on Halo, I'm pretty sure. And he's like confirmed to be working pretty much on like a hero shooter, like hero arena shooter. And to me, that sounds like, okay, that's going to be at least 2 IP by 2025 that are live service games. We don't know what else Bungie might be working on, but I think that that's safe to say. And I think it's safe to say that Bungie has quietly been working on like a new engine, or at least engine upgrades for Destiny 3. But yeah, I've been talking for a while.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say, so you think that with all the companies that they've been acquiring over the past couple of years, and especially the past month, grabbing Bungie, especially, that it's gonna be viable for them to not only release 10 games, but for them to keep the quality of it?
I
Just
think
'cause
so. Yeah, I think so. Just because we have like, so they acquired Firewalk Studios, I think. Might be Fire Sprite. I keep on getting it wrong. But they've had experience with that, and I think they're confirmed to be working on like a first-person shooter multiplayer game. Um, and as I said, the other studios have like been beefing up their things. Like there's talk of like a Last of Us multiplayer game coming soon. We still kind of like waiting on news for that. Um, but we know Insomniac is working on Spider-Man 2 and a Wolverine game, which looks insane just from the teaser. We know that, yeah, we know that Santa Monica is not going to stop making God of War games at this point. And I think we know that Naughty Dog is going to come out with another banger single-player game, whether you like it or turned off by it, whatever. It's going to be quality. So I think they know that they're comfortable with like the volume of work and like quality of work that their single-player studios are working on, and they like mastered that over the PS4's life cycle. So now we can move on to like actually playing the game that Xbox is playing in terms of like, okay, we need live service multiplayer games that people can come back to. And
maybe that's why they're dedicating so much money to the workers, and is because of all of the past, like the crunch culture that they've had, where people have been overworked. Maybe that's why they're providing so much money. They're using it as an incentive to keep those workers there, so that way all the developers that are at Bungie, like, hey, don't freak out. We're gonna take care of you. Like, we're not gonna try to overwork you, and if it does get a little bit harder, like, here's more money. Like,
yeah.
And once like, oh, you can go ahead, Chris.
And I'd like to cut in and talk about at least crunch whenever it comes to Bungie. In the past, we've looked at Halo 2. That game was made in about 10 months, which, at least if you've paid attention to actual like documentaries and stuff about how Bungie was during that whole program, it was a mess, to be honest with you. Like, people were working about 100 hours a week, no exception. I mean, spending months living at the office just to get this like game out within 10 months of Microsoft setting that timeline. And I know that that was a different time period, a different time, and at least with PlayStation overall, they released some very quality games within their time frames, and if they need to push a date back, they will for the most part. But at least with Bungie, I mean, we've seen replications of this, like cut content from like Destiny 1, sometimes Destiny 2. At least Destiny 1, there was supposed to be a lot more things with the story that was going on about that. And I mean, at least for the initial story, it felt a little bit bare. The ending of it, not much going on with it. A lot of fans back in the day were a little they didn't like how it ended. And at least for overall story development, as Bungie heard more reception about it, they've always been quick to actually change their timelines and how they finish their content, the overall quality of it. And I think that at least them being acquired by PlayStation will definitely show that type of quality, definitely. And I mean, I just am looking forward to seeing what PlayStation's acquisition will bring benefit to with Bungie as a whole. But I hope that that crunch culture never does come emerging before, because even though Halo 2 was a very quality game made within 10 months, a lot of content had to be cut. There was whole levels of that game that were just reduced to like a fourth of what it could have been. And I mean, the Xbox itself, it was being pushed to its limits with its overall engine during its time. It was very limited compared to what we have nowadays with technology. So it would have been great to see how that would have been made. But you guys can see more about that yourselves outside of our podcast.
And that's one of the benefits that you get when, like, from Bungie joining Sony and having that sort of team aspect, is you get all the resources. Sony gets to learn how do we make a template for creating a good experience in an online game that, how do we keep people in? How do we keep them entertained? What should our release of content look like over the course of a season or whatever? And then beyond that, because you're with Sony, and Sony is like the god of exclusivity and being able to say, okay, well, we can push this back because we're the only people that can do this. If we wait until it's good, people are still going to buy it. They're excited for it. And when you're small and you're making Halo 2 in 10 months, you have to release it in 10 months, because if you don't release it in 10 months, people are just going to go play Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're with Sony and you know that you can make a banger and you can take as long as you need. It's gonna get out and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's another aspect of the deal I wanted to talk about is just how like freeing it is for Bungie to be under Sony, which is weird, but like Bungie has been like they've had the song and dance before where it's like, okay, yeah, we'll work with you, and then they end up having too much power over them, and they end up being in a situation where they're like, we can't even see our vision through. We can't even execute on what we want to do. Like Chris was mentioning with Destiny 1, like Pro and Aldrin was supposed to be like a huge thing in Destiny 1. Like we were supposed to see his story arc now in 2014. Like we didn't see any of that. And like really Destiny 2's story didn't ever start to kick off until Destiny or Bungie was free of Activision. That's when we started getting like seasons that actually had content and like had story and had voice acting. And before that it was just like, yeah, well, you can play this one event for like 20 or like one activity for like 20
Season
times.
of the Drifter.
Yeah.
Season of the Drifter. Like that was whenever they were going through that overall switched from Activision to being a free company, and I was just like, dude, really? Gambit Prime? That's all I get? Like,
Yeah.
and Reckoning? Like, dude, what am I gonna do? Like Black Armory, that hit hard. That was some good stuff. And then, I mean, they rebounded once it hit Season of the Opulence, but for those 2 seasons, I mean, I wanted to fall asleep. Like there was other games I was playing during that time. Like I went into Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain, beat that, tried to beat chapter 2 of that. Didn't happen, but hey, there's always time for that. And going back to you, Noah, of what you were saying.
Yeah. So they released like a graphic and like an FAQ, or Bungie did, and they're talking about how Destiny 2 will stay on all current platforms, expand to new platforms. Awesome. They'll remain self-published and creatively independent, which is the biggest thing I think. They're still self-publishing their games. Like Sony barely gets. I mean, they get the money and they get the brain share, and then other than that, it's like go do whatever you're gonna do, Bungie, and it's like insane in terms of that. And then same game everywhere. Every player should have an amazing Destiny experience no matter where you choose to play. Meaning, no more like wave splitter exclusive exotic on PlayStation 4, and then you can never see that until like 2 years after or whatever. No more exclusive strikes or story missions, things like that. Yeah, and that's just crazy. And also, if there's a last thing on their FAQ, is Bungie has future games in development. Will they now become PlayStation exclusives? And no, those games are confirmed to, at least for now, not remain or not be only PlayStation exclusives. So that's huge. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's
I-
insane.
I'm an avid supporter of games being multi-platform and being available to all sources because not everyone has the funds or the availability to go out and say, I want an Xbox to play all the games that are on Game Pass, which is amazing right now because especially with Microsoft getting all these other companies, they're going to be bringing a lot more to Game Pass probably here soon. But if you want to play God of War, or Spider-Man even, you have to go and you have to actually buy a whole new console, which is just nuts to me. And then PC is just kind of left in the middle because it's not a guarantee that they'll get any of those games. Like, for instance, Halo Wars. I think you can only play the first one on PC right now. You can't even play the second one.
You can with the Microsoft Store, which I mean is definitely a fun thing to do, but it's definitely not optimized for PC. At least with my friend's low-end PC, it was burning up the last time he was trying to play it, so it's a little rough to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's awesome that they're not going to make it just console specific because that's always a bummer.
Yeah,
I want to clarify what I meant exactly because I don't want anybody to get confused. When I said exclusivity, and not like console exclusivity, but exclusivity as a brand, if that makes sense. Like how luxury cars have an increased price because they are the brand, and it's you can drive a luxury car anywhere, you can take it anywhere. But if they're like, oh, well, we're gonna wait like a little bit longer to release new branded Tesla, or the Cybertruck's not ready. It's when you pair Bungie with Sony, the brand expands. So that's the exclusivity. It's not like a console exclusivity, but it's a brand exclusivity.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
with their at least shared vision, it's one community, multi-platform. They're going to stay within all current platforms and
Mhm.
expand to new platforms that get added on as time goes on. And I mean, they stay self-published and creatively independent, like we've said. And it's just the same game everywhere. They've taken away all this exclusivity, like in Destiny 1, Hawkmoon, and I think like
Oh
Fourth
yeah.
Horseman. Like all that stuff was exclusive to PlayStation for a long time, and for a whole year for Xbox people we'd be waiting forever just to get our hands on that.
Mhm.
And by that time, all the nerfs went through. It's like,
Yeah.
in Destiny 2, Vex Mythoclast being overpowered for seasons on end, and then you get it as it gets nerfed, and you're like, what the heck is this? Let me just throw it out of here. It's like, it's not even worth it at that point, you
Thanks, I
know?
hate it. Yeah.
So since we're on the subject of Bungie being acquired by Sony, I would like to talk about what Bungie did for themselves and what I'm hoping it'll show up in Destiny 2 when they hired animation director Derek Desai.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Uh
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, yeah, so I mean, yeah, one part of it is that Sony has access to like Sony television studios and Sony Pictures,
Mhm.
and that they have like came out. I think it was like an IGN story. I'm not sure though. And it was like, yeah, Sony is 100% on board with expanding Destiny into a wider universe, and yeah, this hiring of Derek Sy as a Riot animation director, or as a former Riot animation director, of like some shorts for League of Legends and things like that. I think that speaks to, okay, we want like an Arcane type experience for Destiny, for like Destiny universe, which is awesome.
That would be really good.
Do you
That
know
would be so pog.
do you know what
Yeah.
animated shorts he worked on for League of Legends? Because I enjoyed most of them, if not all of them.
They're all bangers. They're all
did he
so good.
Yeah, did he work on the music videos? Did he work on Arcane at all? Or I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find anything really.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but he was the animation director, right? So
Mhm.
he was an animation director, so I assume he worked on a lot of them.
Mhm.
And then another thing is that he has 15 years of experience across games, animation, and film industries. He's worked for Obsidian, Walt Disney, Marvel Studios, Universal Pictures, Crystal Dynamics, HyperX, and more. Like he's like
He's
he's a
been there. He's experienced.
veteran. Yeah,
His
And
his
there's
official title that Bungie gave him is head of development for the Destiny Universe Transmedia.
right.
So,
Mm.
do you think they're trying to take it beyond just gaming for Destiny, or do
Oh,
you think they're
absolutely.
Yeah,
do you think
He's
you're
I
gonna
could
have
incredibly
I
a
could
late.
see
Destiny
them
TV show like they're doing with Halo?
I
like
mean,
there's
yeah,
so much in like lore books and like it's stuff that you have to read to get more out of Destiny than just face face level value. That they
Like,
could take
yeah.
anything. Like they even going back to Halloween event, like they do a short movie or like a 30-minute thing going through all the logs of Glint and the Pumpkinhead. Like
true.
that would be so fog. Or
Oh,
like
that's so fun. Yeah.
anything. Like it's all great content and
and they got plenty of
people
takeaway from with the Grimoire anthology. I mean, Sword Logic, we got the what is it, the Fallen Kingdoms to work with. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
there's plenty of to work with in there that just needs to be brought to light. I mean, Grimoire cards were a thing in Destiny 1 and not so much in this, but I mean, they got overall stories that they're writing. Like they got plenty in writing, but I think them transferring it to like a television series or just something of that sort of nature would absolutely benefit
Mhm.
them, especially seeing how Sony has the ability to do that with multiple
I
films like
I think
Spider-Man
the
and stuff
lore
like
could
that.
be compared similar to like for Destiny, it could be compared similar to that of like Star Wars or Marvel in the sense of there are so many different storylines.
Yeah,
Like for instance, in this current season that we have with the new dungeon that they added, when you go through and you find all the logs about the treasure hunters that were
yeah,
there, like that could be an hour and a half movie in and of itself.
yeah.
Like and or even like a 20 to 30 minute animated short, and it would be amazing.
And
Like
think if they did like What If, like from Marvel,
Oh,
like just
true.
yeah,
yeah,
yes.
just separate episodes that aren't like tangentially connected to each other. I mean, they are in the same universe, but just have it to where it's like a different story every single time with different guardians. I mean, you are the guardian in these games. Your story expands everywhere, and it would
Mhm.
just be cool to see big players come out of nowhere, like things that you read about, just like right there animated for you. Like there's
Yeah.
some big things
Mhm.
we could do with
Like
this.
Destiny has so many genres in it. Like you could do like a really dark horror low budget movie for like really cheap and people would go see that. And you could do it like in the Hellmouth or something where like a group of 3 guards are just trying to survive the night and like that's it. That's all it is. And then you could do a movie where it's like a western like Shin Malphur versus Dredge. That would be dope too.
Yeah.
You could
The
do
last word.
yeah.
Yeah,
You could
that
do
would be so
you could do
sick.
like huge space opera political intrigue Star Wars like prequel trilogy stuff where you have the Vanguard and like the future war cult and new monarchy and stuff and they're like all like planning and scheming against each other. You could do so many cool things. You could do the Battle of Six Fronts and make it just like a huge like war movie. You could do so many things and it could be amazing. And also I want to point out Sony Television Studios, a part of Sony's television studios is Crunchyroll and Funimation. And
A Destiny anime?
and an anime
Hell
would
yes.
slap.
Hell
And
yes.
hey, and
dude,
this
I
wouldn't
would
be the
love
first
that.
time that Bungie's done something like this, because Halo Legends, you guys ever seen that film?
Yes.
That
Halo
movie?
Legends was awesome.
They have done this before, to where they had multiple stories going on at the same time, like Homecoming, The Package, The Babysitter,
Ghost.
different films like that. Like they were so many of them are so good. The one about the Arbiter, and like you know how there's so many Arbiters. It was about one Arbiter, how he just slayed a whole entire army just to get to the one person that killed his wife. And you guys got to see it for yourself. It talks about lore. It talks about multiple stories. It's great, and it's just a wonderful thing that Bungie's made. And they could definitely replicate this with Destiny 2 and the amount of story they've already developed for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just think of like the amazing speech. I've already said this because I just like saying this, but just think about the amazing fucking monologues that would come out of Guardian's mouth right before he's about to use a super,
Oh, yeah.
and then when he
I-
uses it, oh,
I need them to bring back and make a series of Cade 6, and they need to bring back the voice actor as well. What's his name again?
Nathan Fillion.
Yes, they need
100%.
they need to bring back Nathan Fillion, and they need to bring back the other lady that used to play Ikora, who they changed her
Yeah.
voice actress now, but Nathan
Little
Fillion
Firefly
and her,
reunion.
yeah, a little Firefly reunion.
I think Gina Torres. I think that's her name. Yeah, I think like
What would you want to see in a Destiny 2 what if? What would be your biggest what if that you'd want them to explore?
What if the Taken King wasn't killed?
that'd be good.
Because-
What?
or
if-
it's changed at all
Yeah.
in
This
Destiny
one's,
1?
this one's big. What if Savathun stole the light?
Oh.
What if?
Oh.
All right,
And we're just moving into the Witch Queen now, I see.
What else?
What if Gaul succeeded in his goal to like take the light for himself and became a guardian?
Mithrax.
That's something I actually would like to see. I would like to see in future updates of Destiny, like especially now that we have a what's the word? A treaty or a pact with the Elixni, with the House of Light. I would like to see some Elixni guardians and maybe
Yeah.
have an option. Maybe that could be an option in Destiny 3. You could
I think so.
that could be
Yeah.
a new
What
race
if-
like Elixni.
What if
I think it's got to
Mithrax
be.
came back as a guardian? You know,
And that-
I'd love that.
Yeah.
And from the amount of times we've slain Crota, I mean, what if Crota was never slain? Like, the amount of times we've slain him is insane. Like, we see him pop up from
Yeah.
left and right. But would Oryx, like, actively hunt down humanity and just try to just ruin everything when it comes to that? I mean, I know he's a conqueror for the most part, but he
Yeah.
was mostly pissed off that his son was killed. And I mean, we've killed almost the whole line connected to Oryx. I mean, Crota's daughter. I mean, it just goes Hash Ladoon. Thank you. Yeah, like I mean, that was a very underwhelming fight at first, but I mean, it had some story basis outside of it. But it's like Bungie should definitely bring some of this story to light. They definitely do it in their games. they can do a lot more outside of it with these
Here's a real
shows.
question. Here's a what if for you. What if Tannix comes back again?
Oh
Oh,
my
shit.
god. No, dude, I'm done with
No,
Tannix.
but-
Bring Skolas or someone.
the Mithrax thing, like, what if we killed Mithrax instead of the Hive Knight that he was fighting? Like, and then he does come back
Oh,
as a
yeah.
guardian, and like either way, he would have found his way to the House of Light and like been a beacon for some Fallen to like join up with the city. That'd be cool.
Fog.
Yeah, I think there's just so much potential for the Destiny like universe in terms of media, in terms of like
One
books
more.
even.
One
Yeah,
more
yeah.
for you. One more for you. I want to see a what if series, from the Exo Stranger's point of view from her universe,
Oh,
Elizabeth. Because remember, the darkness actually taints the Guardians over there, and
That's
then
true.
they don't use it for good.
That'd be super
The start of the D2CU, and it's just
Yeah.
Iron Man, but it's close.
good. That'd be good.
I would love that.
Yeah, that's another thing, like Golden Age storytelling. Like that'd be huge too.
Dark Age.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I
Sure.
said it could be on par with not just Marvel, but with Star Wars too, because there's different
It's
ages.
like eras,
there's,
yeah.
There's like High Republic, Old Republic, Current Republic. Like there's all kinds.
Dark
True.
Side, we're out here. Bring us in. We got you.
And I mean, as much as people hate the Drifter sometimes, I mean, he gives some good, like, at least he gives us a little glimpse of what the Dark Age was, being revived after starving for so long by
Eating
his ghost.
babies.
Okay, maybe not the eating babies part, but there's always a possibility. I don't think we're gonna go into that in a film series, but hey, who knows? Who knows?
A Drifter narrated TV show would be so good.
It would be.
That'd be so
Not a
sneaky,
Xur
though.
one, please. Keep it away from Xur. I'm tired of hearing his voice over Dares of Eternity runs, man.
And remember to spade and neuter your ghost.
Oh, goodness, it goes on.
Yeah, so
Let's get into some of the patch notes for
Yeah.
the next season.
let's talk about
No.
some Destiny 2. Not that we haven't been talking about Destiny 2 this whole time, but
Well, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just want to get into the patch notes because I'm looking forward to this new season.
for sure,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Not what
The-
if, but what about now?
The one that you and Chris were talking about the other day about the exotics, so like when I actually understood what they were doing,
Hmm.
that was super awesome. I'm looking forward to actually using an exotic weapon now. Like maybe Suro's regime will actually pop off.
True. So yeah,
Huckleberry.
what Lane's talking about, for people who don't know, our exotic primaries are now getting a 40% damage boost, including to like their explosions or like, other sort of things that they might do, like Outbreak Perfected. Its Siva nano things will do 40% extra damage to red
Risk
bar
runner.
enemies. This is all to red bar enemies, but it's still like pretty huge.
I think Risk Render's going to be decimating the
Oh,
competition,
sure.
chain
Especially
lightning
with
like
the
crazy.
especially with the new SMG. What was it? The
That's what I was.
artifact mods that they're gonna be bringing forth.
Yeah.
believe it's Overload, right? Again.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully it's a little bit better than last time because I mean I know that they're definitely reworking Overload and as a mod in whole. Like it's good on bows, and I don't know what's happening to bows. I thought it was gonna be anti-barrier bows, and I really hope not because it just makes sense for Overload. But anti-barrier, that would take too long.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
I mean, a Huckleberry or a Risk Runner just decimating all the red bars, that would be great.
Super
That would
nice.
be great.
My two that I think will become like they won't be great, but they'll be viable. Using No Time to Explain. I love No Time to Explain, and having your little turret like one shot red bars. That's just
Yeah,
nice.
that is
Like,
super
you,
good.
You can be headshotting a larger guy, and then like it's just going on.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
Yeah.
taking out enemies as they're shooting at you,
No
or
more g-
using Monte Carlo, because the reason Monte Carlo melee builds are bad is because Monte Carlo just doesn't do enough damage compared to like
Exactly.
other exotics, and
And
so
it looks so nice too. Like I want to use it, but it's just not
Yeah.
viable.
but having a 40% damage bonus might make it a lot more viable to use like a void lock melee build or like anything melee build. Just being able to say, oh well, this is not that bad anymore, but also on the scale, it's still going to be just as bad compared to other exotics, but
Yeah.
it won't be worse compared to legendary, like anything else. So I think I might try to use Monte Carlo more after this patch is going through. But I think it'll be interesting. For
Yeah.
sure.
Which SMG do you think is going to be better in this update? Because they are adding a few new exotics. Do you think Huckleberry or Risk Runner, or do you think the new Poison SMG is going to be
That poison
the
SMG
new
looks pretty
meta?
nice.
I'm gonna hate it
Yeah.
in Crucible. If I go against that thing in
Yeah.
Crucible, I'm
Anything
gonna
Poison
cry.
in Crucible.
Thorn sucked already from
Yeah.
the multiple years in D1 and D2. I had to go against it, but now SMG that poisons, who knows? There better be some work on that, or else I might cry. But I mean, at least talking about Crucible, this Reckless Endangerment Pursuit shotgun that they're bringing next season, sounds a little nasty. Having it to where it has Steady Hands perk, which gives it a massive handling boost, so you're just switching to it fast, aiming down sights fast, and it has Snapshot.
Yeah.
It's a shotgun. I mean, shotguns in Destiny have always been notorious for destroying whole fire teams. So let's just see how this one turns out. I mean,
Yeah.
Felwinter's had its time. Let's see if something else could take its place.
And
I really hope it doesn't.
That's another thing. The sort of special ammo rework, where now every special ammo brick will only give you 1 ammo, unless you have a scavenger, which will give you like 3 or 2. I don't know. It's that's interesting to me because it's like
Because the special brick right now, it gives you 2 shots, right?
it gives you however many they had, I think.
Oh yeah. However, they dropped, I think.
Gotcha. So if I have a shotgun and I have 2 shots and I kill someone who had 5 shots, I get their 5.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And at least moving forward on these weapons, I mean, they're making some small reworks to guns, like Foundry weapons, having like special perks like Suros, Hake, Amalon. They have like a little thing going on, like, Suros, you get to reload. Reloading grants bonus handling and reduces incoming flinch for a short time, which, I mean, that's cool that they're finally making it to some of these guns. Like, some of the Hake guns, they're like, people just throw them in the vault and call it a day. Some of them will get picked over, like, Last Perdition, like a good Suros gun, stuff like that. So it'll be cool to see some of these guns come into light some more.
Yeah.
Noah, can you explain to me what the origin traits are?
Yeah, so the origin traits are like new traits that can drop on different weapons, like depending on their like not the origin, like what activity they dropped from, or their foundry, like if they're a Suros weapon or an Amalon weapon or a Hake weapon. So like for examples, they give like Trials of Osiris, which drops with Alacrity, which is gain increased reload, stability, aim assist, and range when you are the last living member of your fire team or running solo, which it gives you plus 20 reload, plus 20 stability, plus 10 aim assist, and plus 10 range. And solo includes like solo lost sectors and rumble. So those things.
Solo also. So is that just for Crucible, or would solo also be for, like, say someone was trying to solo flawless a dungeon? Would that also apply there?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like that's one thing, and that because of that one, like specifically, they're getting rid of celerity as a perk, because that's just celerity but better. Because they're basically perks that you can get without ever having to like fill one of your columns. Instead of like having to do that, you just get it always. It's always there. And some weapons that are like, okay, let's say you have a Suros weapon that's also a Trials weapon, which is like a really rare case, but it could happen. You can choose between your origin trait on that weapon.
Okay.
Yeah, they sound really cool.
So
Yeah.
that makes me kind of excited to actually get some different legendaries, because I noticed in the Destiny universe that each faction kind of has like their own look and their own feel to weapons, and I really like the Hake because theirs always felt like just kind of like their weapons were kind of in the past as far as like how they function. Like
Yeah,
so like as most weapons, they feel futuristic in how they fire, or they sound futuristic. The Hake always sounds like an actual AR,
yeah,
or like looks like it, feels like it, that kind of thing. And I always like that aesthetic to that weapon.
hmm
So I'm
This
hoping that'll be good.
stunning recovery origin sounds absolutely cracked. Stunning a champion partially refills your magazine, triggers health regen, and improves recovery. Plus 40 recovery for 3 seconds.
yeah. Like
That's broken.
that's insane.
That's crazy. Especially like if you're already rocking an insane amount of recovery. Like
That's gonna drive people that have not played Nightfall Strikes to be like, oh, what's that on your Origin? Like, what's that thing you have? I'm gonna go run some Nightfalls because that looks dope,
Yeah.
and that might actually give me a chance to actually do a Grandmaster because that actually sounds like it's kind of like what I want to spec into. Another thing
Not
that's
to
cool.
mention,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Another thing that's cool, and it sounds like, pairing this with like one of those exotic primaries we're talking about, is Vanguard's Vindication. You get it from strikes. Final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of health. Small equals 7 health. So if you're killing like red bars by the like ton, you're just like full health. And if you're a Devour Voidlock or something like that, it's even better. Like there's so many ways that this sounds like so dope.
So you just take your risk runner and then
Yeah.
you kill like 30 ads in one shot.
And I want to talk about another SMG that's getting a little bit more love. So Taraba, if you guys, so it seems like that one gun that you just don't want to pick up from the Lost Lights archive, because it's just, from the most part, it's a good gun once you actually have that commitment done with doing the perk, which increases the amount of damage output it has. So they're talking about reducing half of that actual work that you have to do to get that damage output to commence inside of Crucible. So this might be a dirty gun going into our Crucible games finally. I mean, it'll take an exotic slot, so it makes a little bit more sense now to use it. But like, let's hope that its Ravenous Beast actually decimates some Crucible components once it starts going.
Yeah,
So,
it sounds dope.
Two things. I think that the Origin perk that you were talking about, JR, I think it's going to help out a lot with not only Grandmasters going forward, but also people who are trying to do like day one raids. And I think that's awesome. And then secondly, is the 40% exotic buff, is that applying to just red bars as far as PvE content, or is it also going to apply to Crucible?
I think just red
It
bars.
said
just
minor PvE enemies, right?
Yeah,
minor
yeah.
enemies.
Yeah, so just PvE.
So you got to check their ID and then shoot at them.
Oh, true.
But yeah, good buffs.
And then going back to like the Foundry Origin traits, all of those like Suros and Hake and Amalon and Vice kind of like line up with like their sort of fantasy like surrounding that weapon. Like Hake, you said it feels like old time. You feel like it feels like an actual weapon we'd have today. So Hake, that Origin trait deals increased damage to vehicles, turrets, barricades, and stasis crystals. So it's like you're like penetrate that armor type weapon that you'd use. That's really cool. And the increased damage is like plus 15% to vehicles and plus 30% to structures and turrets, and that also includes like stasis turrets. So in PvP, that's like where you'd kind of use it.
Okay.
So I guess that kind of hints to what's in store for Witch Queen, like, because if you just look at it like, vehicle damage, that's kind of ass. Like, because you don't really ever shoot vehicles, so maybe
the map
they'll
is
have like
really big though, isn't it?
Oh, like the Throne World?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is like, will they have like what is it in Halo, the big map? No, like the big game mode with
Warzone.
Warzone.
No, what's it called? The Big Team Battle. Yeah.
Big Team Battle. What if there's going to be a D2 Big Team Battle? You know,
freaking hope
that would be crazy.
I hope so, because
that would be
used to have that a lot in Destiny 1 with the giant maps on the moon and stuff like that whenever they released in beta, and they slowly kind of fizzled it out to where it was more of an arena shooter like Halo. But I mean, the potential is still there, and I would love to see them just take these big maps into consideration. But I know that they are adding like just a few maps right now for Witch Queen, which I think is bringing back like one of the older maps from Destiny 1 and then adding a few new ones. But I was I looked over some of the documentation here and saw that Eager's Edge is actually getting a little bit of a nerf. I mean, it's a little rough to see, but I mean, the fact that we're flying all over the place like it's Halo 2 again, Bungie's finally seeing that, and instead of, they can't rework a game like Halo 2, but they can rework this game. So they're bringing down the lunge benefits by 25%, and your airborne velocity now is going to stay about, it's going to cap now. So you won't be just flying endlessly into the abyss. now you'll actually just, fly a little bit, but nothing too crazy,
So sad day for Logan, but in the speedrunning community.
RIP Logan.
Yeah.
But hey, set those speed run records right now while you still can.
Yeah, and then weapon crafting, something we haven't talked about yet, really, is a huge thing, and it looks pretty cool. It looks interesting, at least. Basically, you're going to be able to craft weapons, and they're probably going to be. I think it's just I don't want to say which weapons you can craft, but witch queen weapons for sure you can craft, and you can craft them by acquiring their patterns or blueprints, really, which you can get from either like doing quests or from whatever activity they drop from. And they look pretty dope. Like you can like change. It's a lot more in depth than I thought it would be. You can go into like, okay, you want to give it 10 handling or you want to give it this. So it's like almost like you're masterworking it, or like you're giving it those first 2 columns of perks. Like you can just choose exactly what you want. You can like craft your exact god roll, which is awesome.
I'm looking at this, and it looks like you can actually change their frames. So instead of it being a high impact frame, you can make it an aggressive frame, or any type of frame of the sort. Now, I'm not sure if that's just like choosing which weapon you want to use, or if that's like actually like say this the compass gun that they have here. I mean, if you can make that an aggressive frame instead of a high impact frame, who knows how great like that one would be versus the other one. But then you have multiple plays that you could use with it, so that would be cool to see.
Yeah, and one dope thing about it is that like you have to use the weapon to upgrade it. So it's kind of like Destiny 1's sort of customization thing where you had to level up your weapons, and that's how you unlocked your whole skill tree for that weapon. And that's kind of how this is, but it's like it looks more in depth, to be honest, that you can change your whole frame. And then the other thing is that you find deep sight resonance weapons, and if they have like a perk you want, you can use that weapon with that perk until you get you extract the resonant elements from that, and then you can put it on. You can put that perk on whatever weapon that you've crafted that you want it on. Like as long as it's in that pool, you can do that, which is like awesome. That sounds like a really cool system.
The fact that you can actually reshape guns in this just sounds insane. Like you could get any god roll with any gun that you have now with more than ever. It might be a little bit harder to get the materials, but it'll be nice to see that actual like not having to constantly do one activity constantly just to get that one god roll. Like grandmasters spending 10 hours trying to just play it millions of times, having those failures, and then you don't get the god roll you have after you finally get the weapon to drop for you. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, and it's cool because like, okay, what if this thing gets nerfed and it was my god roll, but now it's not? Now I can just go reshape it. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool itself. Instead of just deleting it.
And I think Lane wants to give his input here with his little sock demonstration here.
I'm just happy. I'm just showing it with my feet. Happy feet.
Yep. For the audio listeners, Lane just did a funny little maneuver with his feet where he slapped them together using his hands. I don't know. It was
that was all leg power, my dude.
Oh, true. Never mind. It was
Lane,
more
anything
impressive.
you want to add about the recent reworks that are going on?
Yeah. I don't know. All I know is I'm excited for the new Destiny, and Halo is a snore fest.
Yeah, so let's get to Halo real quick. We're just gonna talk about it. Talk about sort of the ranked problems that might be emerging, and how it's doing on retaining players, much like Sony is trying to retain Bungie employees.
Oh, all right. Well, we can move into at least looking at Halo Infinite from a Steam perspective of things. So we're looking at around a high of 30,000 players on average with it, which is going up and down frequently. It most of the time it has to deal with the events, which like Fractured Tenrai event, we have the Winter Contingency, as well as that Cyber, I forget what it was, Cyber Showdown event. But I mean, the thing is I mean, it gives you something to grind here and there, but once you're done with it, it doesn't like, there's nothing else to do because the overall challenges inside of Halo, at least from your guys' perspectives, because you guys have seen it before, like it doesn't retain your attention that long. Like some of them, they seem almost impossible to get. Like at least sticking someone with a plasma grenade, you might go into like 3 or 4 games before you stick someone with a plasma grenade,
Yeah.
and sometimes you just want to give up on that circumstance. But I mean, it's overall numbers. They started high with about like what 20 million people at least on debut of the game, and it's kind of just gone down extensively fast, where their new daily highs 30,000 players, and who knows, it might go even less than that. I mean, at this rate of how it is, and I mean, at least with rank play, we're seeing a lot of different variables coming into rank play. It almost feels like the matchmaking isn't like right. It's like it's supposed to be like what's the word I'm thinking of? It's skill-based matchmaking. It's supposed to be like that, but there's different variables that are being taken into account here, which are throwing it off a little bit. Like at least from one of these articles that I've been reading about lately, we're looking at the MMR for placement matches. I mean, they're being affected even outside of placement matches, they're being affected by like what you're doing in casual game modes, like big team battle or even bot slayer. Like you could like absolutely slay and bot slayer, and then after you're done with that, go into a ranked game and get absolutely decimated by people who are ranked Onyx. And it's like, why am I playing against these guys if I haven't, one, been ranked, two, I haven't even gotten to touch ranked, and I'm already feeling like I'm being ranked in a specific skill base, and it's like it just doesn't seem fair to some people, you know? Like, talk about your guys' experiences with ranked. I mean, I've had a couple instances with it, but we'll move over to you guys a little bit.
I enjoyed ranked for the most part in the early stages. I didn't get too high. I think what are the levels again? It goes diamond and then
it was like silver, gold, diamond, and an onyx, and it's like I think like 6 tiers for each one of them. So
yeah, so I know Noah and we played a lot when it first came out. We played together and we both got diamond for our rankings.
Yeah, for your placement matches, right?
Because we played with some of your friends on Xbox, right?
They weren't Xbox. They played on PC as well, and for the most part, I mean, playing with the team is fun and all, but I mean, I went in solo queued for the most of my matches, and I felt like I was getting absolutely decimated for the majority of it. And it almost feels like that trials type of thing that they have, where if you lose enough matches, then they give you a little bit more of a fair competition to boost up into the ranks a little bit to rebound. But like, honestly, it's all over the place, this ranked matchmaking system. It's a little bit rough.
Say, as far as the matchmaking system goes, yeah, at the start it felt pretty nice. Like it didn't feel like it was terrible. So I guess I just had a different experience than you did, because it sounds like you solo queued a lot, like you said. When I played with Noah and his Xbox friends.
Yeah.
So we pretty much had a full team when we were doing it. But I will say, as far as the ranked play goes, I didn't like some of the game modes. I felt some of the game modes we got more often than not. Like
Oddball.
Oddball for one. And
the randoms you get in Oddball.
Personally, the spawning in Oddball felt very weird.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of times it felt like the other team was spawning back a lot quicker than we were, and a lot closer to the actual skull itself.
Strongholds.
So that was kind of frustrating with the rank system. And then it was just also kind of frustrating because every now and then when it was just me and Noah, we would just get paired up with 2 bots instead of like literally in the diamond rank going into Onyx, we would get 2 bots instead of 2 diamond players.
And not only just that, and we even had instances where people would leave our games mid-match on our team, and you just get left with the bot that, like, when I say bot, I mean like this is worse than a bot I've ever seen in a video game before, where it's shooting the ground for the most part. Like may land a bullet on the feet a little bit, but like it's shooting up, down, left, right. You see that camera, and you're just like, what am I playing with?
They either need to increase the difficulty of the bots depending on what rank you're in. So like if you're in a bronze rank, then obviously you don't need to have a god tier bot. But if you're in diamond, you got to have something that seems somewhat real, someone like an actual player.
I feel like the solution is just, okay, if there's a bot that has to fill a spot, replace that bot with someone who is like an actual player, and if they lose, if your team loses at that point, that person who joined doesn't get a ranked penalty. They don't go down, because in that way, if y'all win, they still get the benefit. They still get the RP or whatever it's called, and then there's really no downside. I think that's just how they should do it, because then you're having people join and they won't lose RP and they still get to play, and they still, I don't know, you're not having a miserable experience.
They already played some Halo, didn't you?
If they, I'd never played it, but if somebody joins a match mid-match and you're already losing, and do you really think that they're gonna like stay just for the chance of getting points at the end, or like if I joined a match, like I queued for ranked, I joined a match already in progress, and I knew we lose, nothing's gonna happen. If we win, I'll get points, and you still got like half the match remaining, and you're already down by a ton.
Yeah.
Are they gonna stay? Like, would they stay?
I
would stay.
mean, the ranked penalty might make them stay. Just like,
Yeah,
I don't know if
but
there is that, but I don't know.
And I mean, at least in other games I've seen, like CS:GO, they just have it to where like they used to have it to where a bot used to play with you and you could take over the bot at one point while you're in the middle of a match. They took that away just because it sometimes felt like it was unfair. But like, honestly, if you just took the bot away, like in specific game modes like Slayer, sometimes the bot would just run out in the middle of the open and just give the other team free
True,
kills
yeah.
constantly.
Yeah, that's
And
Just
it's
remove the
like
bot altogether.
like you could be carrying the team yourself like the whole time, but you have that one bot that just keeps feeding them a kill there, and they just keep searching for it. And it's like maybe just remove the bot as a whole and make it to where the person can actually have a chance of reconnecting, like a button to just press on the screen like, oh, you've been disconnected from the match.
either that or get rid of the tier of the penalty. So for instance, because the way the rank system works, it's 4v4 for those of you who don't know, who haven't played Halo Infinite multiplayer. It's 4v4. There's one of 3 or 4 game modes. There's Slayer, which is pretty much just you kill each other for points. There's Oddball, which is where you have to hold a ball for possession, and then there's Capture the Flag. If you're paired up with a bot, depending on what mode you're playing, it's a lot easier to lose some of those. So if you're gonna lose and you know you're gonna lose, maybe and it's due to someone leaving or not even being matched up with you, maybe they should put in a system to where you don't lose as much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, to be honest with you, because it's just an unfair circumstance for you. Like I've had it to where you spawn into some games and you're in that little loading screen where it shows all 4 of the guys on your side, and people just disappear from there.
Yeah,
and
the
they
guns
drop their
just fall.
grenades and guns.
Yeah,
And
that
I'm
is
just
kinda funny,
like,
though, just seeing
it's
the
funny,
equipment
but
fall.
it's not so funny whenever you're getting beamed by the other team, and then you just have that one bot that just keeps running around giving him free kills, and you're getting destroyed. And it's like you just want to leave the game yourself. It's like nothing that's keeping you caught up in that game, like to actually try.
Well, it's not just the rank system that's driving players away either. It's also just the fact that some of their game modes are just either not habitable, like there's not a player base, or it seems unfair. For instance, their Fiesta mode.
Yeah.
Your team could spawn in with 4 plasma pistols, and then the other team gets rocket launchers and energy swords.
And
Yeah.
it'd
Like
be
right
that
off the
way.
bat, and it seems like that for a good while.
I-
And then go ahead. What were you
Big
gonna say,
team
Noah?
battle being broken.
Yeah, that too.
That was
Yeah.
for the longest time, for a couple months, Big Team Battle was just like you would try to connect to it, and it would just constantly kick you to lobby, kick you to lobby, kick you to lobby. And if you did get in there, wonderful. But the problem is they give you challenges where it requires you to do specific game modes like Big Team Battle, and you're having to use your challenge swaps to do that. And once you run out of challenge swaps, you're like, what the heck do I do? Do I have to go spend money inside the shop? And the shop is horrendous. The fact that everything's like they made it to where it's like half the price of what it was worth before, but it's like still like $10 for these cool cosmetics, while they're like events that they have, there's like nothing to really grind for in them. They look nothing compared to what's in the shop. It's like, why grind for the event when you could just go pay money for a $10 or $20 helmet or bundle? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they nerfed grinding by making it so that you don't get your full value as you play more and more games, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the player base problem probably comes down to that. Like I remember in Big Team Battle we got into the game, and I don't know, on my screen I was like stuck in a time loop. I kept on driving the Warthog off of the map and into the water, and then I like spawned back over there with our whole team, and like everyone else's screen was frozen. But I was like, we just keep on going into the water over and over again. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm just driving us over and over. And it was just crazy. But also I feel like the map variety, the like mode variety, there's like so much less in this game to keep me invested and like interested. After I've seen like a few games, I feel like I've seen like literally every scenario that could happen, and it gets kind of monotonous. The point that I don't feel like, okay, if I'm playing a battle royale, I could drop there, and it's like all of these places that I'm dropping could be their own maps in themselves, and there's like 20 POIs in like an Apex map, so everywhere I drop feels like unique, and like the engagements I get in feel like they were my own stories I could tell. But in Halo, it's just like I don't know what's interesting about that map I played on, or that match I played on Streets, where like maybe I got Cinder Shot and I got a few kills, but like what's like there to really say other than I got 3 kills? Like the game doesn't even reward you. The game doesn't even say you got first place on your scoreboard. Look at that. It just hides that from you. It's like, are we playing a game, or are we playing like just a little simulator where we go in and kill people and then we leave and then get experience maybe? Like, I don't know.
And moving back to what I was talking about earlier about Halo 2 being made in about 10 months, this is quite the opposite. This game took about over 4 years to be made. And I mean, I know that we've had different circumstances like COVID-19 pop up into the equation and make it hard for games to develop. But I mean, we've seen Bungie do pretty good with all that happening at home. And I mean, at least if we've looked at the multiple developers that have gone into Halo Infinite and then just quit from the company itself, there was a lot of those times that were popping up into this that probably made it hard for game development. But I mean, multiplayer itself, like I could understand it messing up the story a little bit, but multiplayer itself, like it definitely should have had a little bit more drive going into it, because it was initially released as almost a beta, and it honestly feels like it's still in a beta state. It's like, and I mean, you might as well just slap the beta badge on it like every other Steam game that's on the market right now, because it just feels like that. Like I would make it, I would understand it more. I mean, I understand it's a free game. You can't complain too much if it's a free game, but like if you want it to, draw in the audience that you are like actively seeking, give it more to do. Definitely push for that. I know that they bring it up. They talk about it all the time, saying they're going to make a roadmap, but we haven't even really seen a roadmap of what's to come in Halo Infinite other than just Tenrai event, which this is like, at least right now, at least in the game, it's saying this is the last week, but I know that they were talking about adding a few more weeks to it, because with the Tenrai event, I think the way that they do progression for it is a little bit ridiculous. How you're able to rank up like 7 times whenever it's like a 30 tier like thing. And it's like 7 times when you have 30 tiers to unlock, and I play more than anybody else. Like maybe I should be able to unlock all of them now and then make it to where it's just one event for that 1 week, or bring it back with different cosmetics to unlock every single time. It makes more sense to do it that way, but not to like there's different terms to use here, but it's rough. They definitely need to work on that a little bit more.
You can't plan your time around the Tenrai event. Like, oh, let's say I want to play Saturday and just like grind through the Tenrai event. Oh wait, I can't do that. I can get 7 levels and then I have to like schedule time a month or 2 in advance. Like, I don't want to do that. No one wants to do that.
Exactly.
And it sucks in that way.
I think we've talked pretty in depth about all of today's topics. So if you're listening or if you're watching us through YouTube, tell us in the comments down below what you think, or you can tweet us at using the hashtag supercharged at supercharged.net. I want to thank JR and Chris for coming out and talking with us today. We really appreciate your input.
Love being here.
And it makes the conversation more enjoyable for sure.
100%.
So I think that's all we've got for you today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Supercharged podcast.
Have a good day, guys.